another song catching the trend. We are separating the boys from the men. My name is D Cram, 6-star General. Oshe Divine Media Ghana. Keep it locked right here. Oko baby Cram at Tolampo.
Abusia a trend say ya yenjai cheswa suspended Chief Justice or the Ensembi Ababetuja Emma Office of the Presidency. Almost so a response. Abrano na yasem ketwa kase hit oja yasem ketwa. Metume boase na me de munchire mu abre na answer na no subscribe na me notification bell no for latest updates sa eso na follow in Facebook, TikTok, Instagram and afi X bebia Divine Media Ghana. Message wa say obe like video na wa che wadwen comment section na afi wa share e de ama foforo e de ama me. Ma memfa aseda Emma A1 Detergent Company Limited omo e na so masen Emma me de sa news and I say update e ba besomo A1 se men kan cho se wope alata se me na make sure wope liquid soap wope bar soap a odi besi niama after wash ade bia e detergent no okopie omo amaso ye ho no ma ombenye bi ama omo ni ama no papa quality omo seminar ni bi na mdi dware e na ama me skin no atoso saa no opo ma kira kwan a ebia open dodo atu akwakugu shop akwakoton sisi a Ivory Coast nyina ye de bi call me pa charge number we na frɛ 0545 074743 and as 0244 877-956. Ohwe o machira kwan a oboase chechere eho na obehu omo A1 Detergent Company Limited or say abatan ati asem the A1 product papa eso na traffic foods esem kan kire o say wo UK wo US wo Canada na say wo pay local food Ghana ye nduane a ye wo ha no bi te say waache tuezafi ene de ka ho dia ene ebomodian na kopie mu ewo omaso ye okopie ho no ma omoye order omoye delivery service de wo pe bia no omo de bebreu enti bomodi ana fa number na da screen ase no na place you order sisi a traffic foods o si eduane papa fie enti abusa amento mebo ase na menjudwa ensem no mu obeka ya ebra President John Dramani Mahama His Excellency ebefa Ghana akonwa no omayeti ase se Chief Justice enkrofo bi afile petition against her omuchire mu se ewo se na dwuma oye as Chief Justice no ye je edi free ni nsem na saasem we ebeto odwa no His Excellency John Dramani Mahama get rid Torkornoo oman suspension wati committee se omonhwehwe ni nsem na eno na ndra maami akire mu a ensem bi ekoso ewo community no omo sitting mu a ono no onya ne ho ntiase na afi so ewo se eniema bi a ekoso no obechiremu ema Ghana fo ehu ne se enye ono ne bo apayo entina ekonsa because o say enkofo bebre na raise concern say on resign the reason why entia still or that so ejana na mom say nya de a obe resign afi so be bia omo agese omo de eye sitting no anase committee no etna se e de ahwehwe ono maame Gertrude ni nsemu no o kiremu a saa bia e ho no krampo no owo hu history owo hu asemka abusuya yentie no.
The committee has refused to allow me to go into the hearing with any family member. The work of the committee is being conducted in a cordoned high security zone on Castle Drive, Osu, when all Article 146 proceedings since 1993 have been held in facilities of the judicial service. It is hard not to reach the conclusion that the choice of venue against the backdrop of secrecy of proceedings is intended to intimidate me and to prevent any citizen of Ghana from knowing how the proceedings are being conducted. The Edu Lodge facility that the hearings are being conducted in featured very prominently in the planning of the murder of judges on June 30th, 1981. And this can be read about in the special investigative report on that terrible event in our nation's history. It will be recalled that there was a Major Samakwa, a military officer who was killed with the 3 High Court justices, who was a director of human resource of GIHOC. He was my uncle and my guardian when I entered the University of Ghana in September 1980. I was also living with him at the time he was abducted and murdered. Was a due lodge chosen for my inquiry to make me feel insecure? I think so. And I continue to hold the view that there's no reason why a judicial hearing is being conducted behind the high walls of a due lodge.
Eti Abusia, suspended Chief Justice, Freno, Gertrude Torkornoo, and Sembebre na auditudja. Na ochiremu asa venue hono no kra na President John Dramani Mahama the committee a ote no choose say omobetena honom a investigate nensem anase charges a omode ato no so anase allegation a eda no so no sa venue honom no omu choose say omode be kai ne yaw a ochiremu a 30th June 1991 ono ankasa ne uncle sa bia honom na ana omode ne tena ya omo je ne nkwa edifiri ni nsem enti no owura ho pe na ase muntum ache no yem ahye no sa lie no an ensem a maame no edi tudwa no na owie na o kire mu se enkrofo bebre na so ebo no superment any firement ewo intentan fidie no so se enka be ya enka ono ankasa no on resign na eye dan ekosoro ba form a omo be yi no na o kire mu se sa enkrofo ni nyina no response we. I've
heard on several occasions from loved ones, persons who care, persons who may not know me beyond my public duties, and many who think that since these proceedings seem to be carefully staged to result in my removal as Chief Justice, it would be best if I just retired or resigned rather than subject myself to an ill-motivated process. I have also received threats and veiled threats to the effect that if I fail to resign or retire voluntarily, I will be made to suffer some harm or the other. I've also heard commentaries in the media about how this process was born out of a stated political agenda to remove me and control the judiciary, and that it is a political effort that can only result in an outcome that was decided long before it started. Let me assure everybody that I am not seeking to cling to a title or a position. Again, resigning or retiring while Article 146 proceedings are being conducted to remove a judge is not an option any judge or public official can even have. There is a decided case on the matter by the Supreme Court. The suit number is J6/02/2019. Again, no one has the authority to walk away from proceedings started by the state. Judgment can be entered against you because you failed to defend yourself. And a judge who resigns or retires would still lose all entitlements that they have worked for because they failed to defend the claims and resigned or retired while the proceedings were still going on. Therefore, if false claims are made against a judge or commissioner or other public office holder subject to Article 146 proceedings, just to achieve a political agenda, the solution cannot be to resign or voluntarily retire out of frustration, pressure, or fear. You would only subject yourself to two cruelties: a judgment based on false claims and loss of everything you have worked for. It may well be that the efforts being made are intended to frustrate me so that I resign, so that the architects of the scheme can go back into the media and say that the wild and unfounded allegations were not defended because they were true and I had no defense to them. As Chief Justice of the nation, who has been given the privilege and obligation to lead administration of justice, I should not turn tail and run when I know the implications of not defending false and unwarranted charges. If I resign under these circumstances, I will be saying that this flawed, unknown, and opaque process is acceptable. It is not. Finally, let me respectfully say that the current bizarre proceedings I have brought to your attention present a twist to our nation's democratic journey that we all ignore at our own cost. My humble view is that Ghana has come too far in the 33 years of the Fourth Republic not to be concerned about the unconstitutionalities that have been designed not to affect just me personally as Chief Justice, but all judges and public officers subject to removal processes of Article 146, if this one is successfully carried out without being questioned. Behind me is every judge in the country. Behind me is every commissioner or head of an independent constitutional body in the country. If successful, it will be tried on anyone.
Enti abusia and same way, ena a suspended Chief Justice, Madam Gertrude Torkornoo, edi ababe tuja. Na eno ena sa same way ebe to no. Anyone na yete ya ne say presidency and so after press conference almost so kire say almost be kire omo nsemu na Felix Ofusuka ache. Abusia and some a wahwe agu honom on allegations eye Madam Gertrude Torkornoo ebe ye say one eye niama ekoso ewo saa process ni nyina mu no eye propaganda anase political agenda ena afi so venue na o choose no o choose say eye o de be ka ne yaw ena afi de toso miensa so eye say o hyeda say NDC aban no per se o mu dinani like o mo person be ma nani age ewo man mu sansem we ya de tu dwai ena eye the presidency enso akire mu a omo so ewo response de man na abusuya information a omo hwe egu hono no ano odin yenti om.
In the last few minutes, many of you in the media have reached out to me seeking to inquire about what government makes of the press engagement that her ladyship, the Chief Justice, just had, which bordered on the petitions brought against her and the deliberations of the committee tasked to look into the matter. Ordinarily, if the matters were left to the content of the petition and the processes being undertaken by the committee, we will not have cause to comment because those are matters beyond the purview of the president or the government. But a number of things were said at the media engagement that, if left uncorrected, could create an erroneous impression and project government in a very unfair, unjust, unwarranted light. To begin with, let me point out that as yet, nobody has been able to ascribe any known verifiable constitutional breach to the president in the way that he has handled this particular matter. From the very first steps in this matter, the president has kept fidelity to the Constitution and has respected the spirit and letter of the Constitution. Everything he has done has been by the book. That is why all those who have commented on the matter, including her ladyship, the Chief Justice, have been unable to point to any specific provision under Article 146 that the president has been in breach of. Second, in terms of confidentiality, the president has acted strictly in accordance with the Constitution. At no point in time has the presidency put out anything in any way, shape, or form that remotely resembles any of the contents of the petition. And the only communication that has gone out on this matter have been about the steps that the president has taken in accordance with the 1992 Constitution, Article 146 to be precise. 3, her ladyship, the Chief Justice, all but insinuated that there was some political agenda at play to oust her and that this whole process is a result of sin. Let me place on record, without fear of contradiction, and let me be clear that no such political agenda exists. His Excellency the President took an oath to which he was incidentally sworn by Her Ladyship the Chief Justice herself. And in that oath, he swore to abide by the 1992 Constitution. He is enjoined to act a particular way when he receives petitions of the sort that he has received. And that is all that His Excellency has done. He has had no choice in the matter. The President cannot say that he has a view about how things should be done, and therefore, if petitions have come, he will fail to act. If he did that, he himself would be in breach of the Constitution, and therefore, he has been enjoined to act as any responsible leader or President of the Republic of Ghana would be required to do, as stipulated by the 1992 Constitution. The fourth point is also that we cannot have a sacred cow mentality in the way that we handle state affairs. Every single public official, from the President to the Speaker to the Chief Justice to Supreme Court judges to ministers to all public office holders, are bound by the provisions of Ghanaian law. Indeed, it was the former Australian Prime Minister, Kevin Rudd, who once said that when you join the game, you play by the rules. So no public official is allowed to raise him or herself above the laws of Ghana. It does not matter how sensitive your position is. Once Ghanaian law dictates that certain processes be undertaken in respect of some alleged misconduct, the rules must come to play. And that is the only guiding principle that President Mahama has operated by in all of this. So any claim, any inference, any innuendo, any imputation of a political motive to the president in respect of these processes are unfounded, they are false, and cannot be allowed to stand. And I wish to place that on record. As yet, absolutely no evidence of same has been furnished in any way, shape, or form. Unfortunately, Her Ladyship, the Chief Justice herself, has added to this commentary, which initially was the tone of elements of the opposition. And it is deeply regrettable that this should happen when the president has been above board and conducted himself in strict compliance with the Constitution of Ghana. The other point that I wish to also place on record is that the attempts to link the dastardly killings of some Supreme Court judges and a military officer to this case are most disingenuous. To begin with, this government and President Mahama have nothing to do with the killing of any judge. Second, there's absolutely no nexus between the petitions that have been brought and that unfortunate incident in our past. So any effort to link the two is regrettable and should not find space in this sort of discourse. It is most undesirable, it is most unacceptable. Now, the venue in question is the Edu Lodge. Yes, it is close to the Osu Castle, which used to be the former seat of government. As I speak, there are government agencies that operate there. So it is a public place. The Osu Castle is a public place. You can go there to conduct official government business. Beside it are private residences owned by Ghanaians who move freely in and out of their residence, even though they are situated very close to the Osu Castle. So the impression that a facility in the vicinity of the Osu Castle necessarily makes it intimidating or foreboding is completely misplaced. It is unfair. It is not justifiable. Now, Edu Lodge is a state facility which is often used to house high-ranking officials who visit the Republic of Ghana. It belongs to the state. The decision to use that place was not that of government or President Mahama. The committee requested that they needed facilities of a certain status that could house their activities and that could facilitate a smooth running of the proceedings. And that facility was available. It is equipped with modern amenities that will facilitate the work of the committee. And the state only offered it upon the request of the committee. Let me also state that that facility is not intimidating. It is like any regular state facility where business can be conducted to the extent that it is put in the right shape. Wherever these proceedings were held, it will still be in camera, as clearly stipulated in Article 1468 of the 1992 Constitution. So that the proceedings are being held in camera is only in compliance with the Constitution. So it doesn't matter where it is held. And any security measure put in place is only intended to secure the place so that persons who are not authorized to be part of the proceedings do not come there and create any inconvenience. I believe that even if the hearings were held at the court premises, it will still be under significant security controls to ensure that only authorized persons have access to the place. So to describe Edu Lodge in the terms that her ladyship, the Chief Justice, did was most unfair and unjustifiable. It seeks to obscure the process and bring in unrelated matters that seek to cast some aspersion or ill motives on government for affording the committee a place to do its work. As I indicated, we have no interest in violating the Constitution by going into the merits of the case. And that is why government has refrained. Let me put it on record that government itself has had cause, indeed the president himself had cause, to lament the way in which some correspondence around this matter got into the media. You will recall that the very first sign of any leakage was the letter that the Chief Justice wrote requesting for copies of the petition. Before the letter got to the presidency, it was in the media. And you recall that in the president's response, in which he also took the opportunity to forward the petition to her, we raised that issue, that it was not acceptable. Indeed, we had cause, the president had cause then to ask his executive secretary to mark the documents that were being sent to the Chief Justice in order to guard against any leakage. So at no point has anybody leaked anything. Also, it must be noted that even the media houses that first broadcast the content of these petitions were media houses that you can say are aligned to the opposition. And they are the ones who have gone to town with this sort of thing. So to attempt to cast aspersions on the presidency is most unfortunate, and it causes what should be a smooth process leading to the determination of the merit or otherwise of the petitions that have been brought. So in summary, I would say that what has happened today is most regrettable. And as government, or as the President Mahama is committed to upholding the rule of law. We cannot have a situation where, depending on who is involved, the Constitution is set aside. All Ghanaians are equal before the law. In the same way that our courts have dealt with individuals in accordance to law, if members of the judiciary themselves are alleged to be engaged in some wrongdoing, the processes laid down and spelled out by the Constitution ought to be respected. And that is exactly.
Enti abusia eno ena oma be kiremu no omo kiremu a ma me na pese otum futuro edigu Ghana fo ani na sa venue honom no enye presidency anase President John Dramani Mahama eno choose edema no na emom eye committee no a President John Dramani Mahama set up no omo eno choose sa venue ni se omo pe ho no more use e dey investigation and afei so sa ensem a odi betu just say political motivated and na say ade bia political agenda no there bi enye no kore ni nyina ye mfuturo bi amaame no epese etugu Ghana for any enti abusuya we ni de efiri mu eba na mesro wa say won so be filifiri na wa kire wa dwen e comment section ho say maame ni yina ye yino no ehu hia ana say ehu hia and afei so de press conference obeye ni emu nsem a wode aba batu dwa no ade ehia anase ehun hia kire wadwen e wo comment section ho e fama me best wa say on subscribe ya ubemia subscribe button so no click bell notification icon for latest update. Follow you in Facebook, TikTok, Instagram and X. Baby a Divine Media Ghana. Midi Ediko Jumens Macron.
Samina intwehuro
enema wusi na okasa bebere se
eja una no samina ne de enye maposa bibi kakra bi aka maposa enko maposa se ntwehuro mpo
we de ma okasa anya tinti me bampo me dru station ma wosen
wa mama no kura nti wa san foforo sen ba
we de ti de me kan me dru station ma twa gu samina bi so me se friend A1 to de meje bi si we de we ankrofo gu so station ne de we de be pu agro pa
o de o kwa de bi ba we o de be o san de be ha ma
o de try ne yan hwe
wait
A few moments later.
Hey, I know the jadi ba dia. Ayo, why?
Me wa ha na me hwe program bi kwa oti.
Ene jana de mabo abaso na se friend saying.
Me se me do just go gu so an se nya sam ke.
Ene aba time right. We dey puka.
Oni asama na ase me hu yanka me to bebirom sike.
E dey enya pra to dodo na dey ye we na to bi enu pe. Ene ka ho no ma nkwa nya utumri ka ho na ya wadwo mo namba ama me. Na me tibi akodwa.
Ka onsu betimi afre A1 ewa ahomabofo iso 054 507 4743 054 507 4743. Now on so Joe Bath soap, Alata Seminar, after wash, Parazone, Nasa wash A1 a tra kwanya, Obwa such a chere, a honum A1 asuya yana ewo. Sewu tu, anasa wopesa wotone mako. A1 Company Limited. A bad time, yat siya semede.
A1 Seminar. A1